Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to ENG3E Term 2A, brought to you by WASA Distance Education Center. I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty, and today is Tuesday, February the 28th, so last day of February, and we are on Class 13 of ENG3E, so that's Grade 11 Workplace College English. So we are wrapping up Unit 2. We just have one of the textbook assignments to cover, two on page 140 of Making It Work, and today we will cover the culminating activity from Unit 2. So the culminating activity is, of course, the large activity. It's the big one that's at the end of every unit. So in Unit 1, you were it's been so long ago. I'm kind of forgetting out. We were setting out on the journey, and we were writing a narrative. You were writing a story about your life, about a time you completed a journey or some experience from your life. And the culminating activity from ENG3E will be, you were writing a story, and the culminating activity of Unit 2 will be a career of interest. But more on that in a few moments. So we are on week 4 of classes in Term A. We'll meet for classes next week, and then we'll have our March break from March 13th to the 16th. So no classes, no broadcasts, and if you're on Facebook, please join that new WASA Facebook page. All right, so here's our progress to date. Here's our course schedule. We have wrapped up Unit 1. We are almost done on Unit 2, so we're very close to having that finished. So we're about, getting close to halfway through the course. And, once we have these 5 units taken care of, then we will, I guess halfway would be 4 units, but we're about getting close to about, a third of the way there, maybe a little bit more. And so I'm fairly confident by the end of week 8, we'll have all 5 units taken care of. Every question will be examined in the class, and that'll give us a solid week to cover the final exam. So if you're listening out there on the radio, please note you can call in 1-807-737-4017 or the toll-free number 1-800-465-7144. You can listen on Bell ExpressVu, channel 972, and go to zoom.us and enter the meeting ID, which is 417-669-9799. That's the meeting ID. Or you can type in the full URL, which is nnec-on.zoom.us/j/417-6699799. That's to join us on Zoom. All of the videos can be found on my Facebook page. That is Laverty, Laverty, space WASA. I mentioned yesterday, if you search for WASA on Facebook, you'll find several teachers' YouTube channels. So they've got all their content on there. I've got OLC 4.0 and along with ENG3E and ENG4E, the 4 courses that I teach at WASA. I have an entire term of OLC 4.0 from last term. So if you're taking that course, you can check out all 36 classes, and by the time ENG3E wraps up, we'll have 34 classes up on that channel. So the content is there. It's organized into playlists that you can check out. Please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. My email is mlaverty, so that's mlaverty at nnecschools.org. So please send me an email. You can find me on Facebook at Laverty WASA, same name as my YouTube channel. So you can add me as a friend on Facebook, or you can send me a message. So that's my professional Facebook account. I have a personal one, but this one's my professional one, and I only post material about ENG3E, ENG4E, and OLC40. So I'm only posting about classes that I teach at WASA and maybe some things related to that. And if I message you, it'll only be to talk about the coursework and to answer any questions you might have about WASA in general, your career, your future career, your current career as a student, your path forward, what courses to take. I can relay you to some great workers here at WASA who can guide your path from where you are now to the goal of graduating. So you can also phone the office at 1-807-737-1488. I'm at extension 2211. If you get our receptionist, just ask for Mike and she'll connect you. Our toll-free long-distance number is 1-800-667-3703. So reach out to me with any questions you might have about the course. The best time to do that would be 9 to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. I do teach from 1 to 3 Monday through Thursday, so I won't be able to respond to your questions then unless you're in my class and you want to participate live and ask questions, which would be awesome. And on Fridays, I'm usually at my desk the entire day. So, but that being said, if you do contact me outside of the office hours, that just means it'll take me a little bit longer to get in touch with you, but I do make contacting students a priority. So when I come in the morning, that's the first thing I do is I check my messages, see if anyone's asked me a question, see if anyone's trying to get in touch with me. So that's my number one priority. And, just once again, just feel free to reach out to me with any questions about your assignments. If you want to have me look at something you're working on, if you're not sure if you're on the right track, if you're having a hard time getting started. So all of that, right? That's what I'm here for. That's a big part of my job, is to be a contact for students and to guide them through their courses. So please reach out. Which brings us to our 3 weeks suggested progress. So if you've been taking the course for 3 weeks, you should have made contact with myself, read the study guide, Unit 1 and Unit 2, completed all Unit assignments, all Unit 1 assignments, and started working on Unit 2. So I bring that up because even if you're an independent learner and you're not tied down to a specific term, I think it's important to stay on task and to set yourself goals. And I think sometimes in life we can put too much pressure on ourselves. And if you take an honest look at your life and you ask yourself, there's probably areas in your life where you're not putting enough pressure on yourself, and you could probably tighten things up. And other times maybe you're too hard on yourself, and you put too much pressure on yourself, and you don't just give yourself a chance to take care of things. So I know, speaking from experience, that I can relate to that statement. But just thinking back to my student days, I was certainly lacking in time management and not devoting enough time to getting things done. So it's about having a plan for every day, carving out a little bit of time every day. But I think my biggest problem was not charting things out weeks in advance. I'm going to be in this course for 9 weeks. These deadlines are going to come up. And if you've signed up and, if you've paid the ticket, you're going to take the ride, then you have to stay on course. Because, if you don't stay on course and week 7 or 8 or 9 rolls around, or week 12 or 15 if you're an independent learner and you haven't started yet, or you've only done a handful of assignments, they're all going to pile up. And that's where your learning suffers. And that's where your assignments will suffer, and you won't be able to submit your best work. So that's one thing you can talk to me about as well, too. If you need help with time management, planning out your next activities, making a plan forward, I'd be happy to work with you to do that. So here's today's lesson. We'll look at words of the day. We'll look at our remaining textbook assignments, which are found in our workbook, our handbook, Making It Work, page 140. And we'll look at that culminating activity, a career of interest. So your learning goals for today are to take notes on how to create a presentation outline. That's our textbook assignments. And watch a live demonstration of searching for potential careers. Brainstorm ideas for your own search. So you're going to watch as I do a live search, and we're going to go to the Government of Canada's Job Bank website. So you'll watch me do a live search, looking for potential careers and doing some research on what makes me tick as a person. Choose topics for your presentations. This is your success criteria. So after reviewing the questions and watching or listening to this class, you will then choose topics for your presentations. You have to do 2 of them, and begin your first drafts, textbook assignment. So this is today's assigned textbook assignment for Making It Work, and you are asked to create a outline for a presentation you're going to give. One is on the unit themes, and one is on you selling something, selling a product or selling a service. So in yesterday's class, we talked a lot about selling, the concept of selling yourself, selling ideas, trying to persuade people, and then we kind of ran out of time, so today I want to finish off that discussion. And you will take note of the initial steps involved in completing your culminating activity, right? So today's class, we will get you off on the right foot, make sure you know what's required of you to complete the culminating activity, and then in tomorrow's class, we'll start to put that assignment together. Start to put together the report that you have to create for this assignment, right? So today will just be the initial steps. All right, so up on the board, I have some Anishinaabe-Moan words that are related to what we've been discussing. So the first one is Anokiwin, which is a noun, which is work, a job. We have Mikwan Oki, which is he or she finds work, finds a job. That's a verb. And a related verb is Andanoki, which is he or she changes jobs, gets a new job. And then you see that in the word work, we've got this K-I-I. It's in the middle, so it's not really a suffix or a prefix, but it's definitely a suffix here. It's at the end of the word. So there we go. So that's it's actually the N-O-K-I-I, right? Or sorry, yeah, that whole word, right? So you see that familiar root is playing through all those 3 words because they are very related to each other. Our English word of the day is career. So that's a noun, which is an occupation or profession, especially one requiring special training, followed as one's life work. Also known as the path or progress through life or history. And this word comes to us from the French, the Middle French. So, there's Old English, Middle English, and there's Old French and Middle French. When you say Old French or Old English, that's like going back to like the 700s, 800s, and then the middle period is like the Middle Ages, the medieval, because that's what medieval means. It means like the middle times. So this would be like 1000 to 1200, 1300. So this would go back hundreds of years, and it's a French word, carriera. I did take French. I can't pronounce that word. Carriera. It sounds like career, but it literally means road or wagon. Think of a carriage. right? Like we still talk about a carriage or car. It's right there. CAR is right there in the word, right? So the modern word car comes from the word for wagon, right? So before we had cars, we had wagons. So it literally means like a road that you follow. And usually when you talk about a career, uh, a career is it's more than a job. It's usually like and they say it's one's life work, right? So it's like people work a lot of jobs before they find the career that kind of that makes up their life's work, right? And but it doesn't. But people have more than one career. Like I was a public librarian for many years, and I was really proud of my career as a librarian. But now I'm sort of charting a new path in life as an adult educator, right? There we go. We've got Andanoki, right? He changes jobs, gets a new job. So that verb applies to me, right? All right. So let's get into our textbook assignment for making it work. So this is use the anthology on page 140. So what you're supposed to do is you are you're writing a presentation outline. So if you don't like public speaking and the idea of speaking in front of a crowd kind of freaks you out, then you're in good news because we're only asking you to write a presentation and not actually deliver the presentation. So, but that being said, I think it's important to imagine yourself, um, to visualize and picture yourself standing in front of a group of people and talking about this topic. I think it'll help kind of get your thoughts in order. Because when we write essays, it's different than when we write a presentation outline, right? So when we give a speech, right, it's different, right? So the audience is different. You know, when you write something and then people just read it later on, it's different than when you give a presentation to a live audience, right? So just imagine it's going to be you up there speaking to a live audience, giving a presentation, and your topic of discussion is one of the units from our anthology. And I've got the 5 units up on the board, right? So you've got to pick one of these units. So unit 1 is preparing for the journey. Unit 2 is setting out. Unit 3 is the journey itself. Unit 4 is attaining the goal. And Unit 5 is what the future holds. What the future holds. So, and then of course, within each unit, there's several selections. And each selection is supposed to fit into that theme, right? But it's up to you to figure out how that happens, right? So you have to decide which works you're going to talk about and how they fit into that theme. So step 1, you need to select which of the 5 units you will discuss in your presentation. Okay, so you need to say, what am I going to write about? Preparing for the journey, setting out, the journey, attaining the quest, or what the future holds. So step 1, pick your unit. Step 2, choose several selections from your chosen unit, at least 3 that support the theme. For example, setting out. So, I would, let's see here. So, most dictionary definitions of the word several say that it's more than 2. The upper limit's kind of hard to figure out, but I would suggest that you write about 3 to 5 of these selections. And if you only write about 3, that's great. So you want to focus your writing, and you may have heard the phrase before. It's better to do a few things really well than to do a whole bunch of things sort of like half-assed or just like mediocre or just just kind of getting them done, right? So I think that's really good advice for writing too. Like when you're writing a presentation or when you're delivering a speech, when you're writing an essay for an English class, if you can limit yourself to what you talk about, but just go into more detail and just talk about them, right? It's probably for the best, right? So you want to look and pick the 3 that you can talk about the most, or the 4 or 5 that you can talk about the most. So they should be ones that you've already read. So units 1 and 2 are probably going to be the easiest for you to write about because you've read at least a few of them already because you've had to answer questions on them. So Unit 1 and Unit 2 are going to be the easiest just for that reason alone. But if you want to do Units 3, 4, and 5, absolutely you can do that. So Step 1, choose your unit. Step 2, choose your selections. Step 3, write out a sentence that explains the theme of the unit. And then write at least one sentence for why each of your selections from Steps 2 fits into the theme. So you're going to have one sentence that explains the theme of the unit. And then you're going to have at least a sentence that explains each of your selections. Try to see if you can make any connections between them, like your selections, and organize your presentation ideas into an outline. So the topic of your presentation, you'll list your chosen unit and its theme. So for example, Unit 2 is setting out, or selections from Unit 2 setting out. So this is your presentation outline. So this is what you'll write for your assignment. You'll have a heading that says the topic of the presentation, and then you'll write Unit 2, Unit 1, or selections from Unit 2 setting out. Your notes, these can be written in point form. They are the main points you will bring up in your presentation. So for your notes, you can simply write a list of point form notes that you're going to bring up in your discussion. And this can be useful, like if you were to actually give the presentation and you had a list of notes in front of you, it would be a list of talking points. It would be a list of things that you're going to talk about in the presentation, but they're just kind of like bullet points. They don't have to be written in full sentences, but they are your main notes. They are what guide your discussion. So you have the topic, you have your notes, and then you have your presentation itself. So the presentation itself, it functions like your script, okay? So you're not going up there and winging it. You're not making things up. You have a plan, right? So I would say the best case scenario for you, if you're going to give a speech and you're going to talk to an audience, best case scenario, you actually write down what you're going to say, and that's the presentation itself. If you were really stressed for time, maybe you'd only have the notes to guide your thoughts. But for this assignment, you're doing the topic of the presentation, your notes, and the script. And the script is going to be written in full sentences or paragraphs. And this is what you would actually say to other people. So think of a speech somebody would give to a group of people. And you can use the I voice for this. So I believe that these 3 selections best demonstrate the theme of Unit 2 setting out, right? So you're giving the presentation, so you can use that I voice, I believe that this poem fits into the unit because. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to just talk about Unit 2, for example, and just talk about these selections and maybe some of the ones you want to pick. Some of them, it's fairly obvious how they fit into that theme. So if the theme of Unit 2 is setting out for the journey, how do these selections actually fit in, okay? So the compass is a piece of poetry, and we've got an old sailor and a young woman, and so the old sailor is passing on his knowledge to the young woman in the poem. That's about setting out, and the compass is a great sort of like symbol or metaphor for like setting out on the journey. You get your bearings, you get your compass out, and you find out where you're going to go. I can't write no pretty poem. We've got the young woman Geraldine, who is just setting out on her journey. So a lot of these poems and stories and articles are about people who are just setting out on their journey. Geraldine's journey maybe to become a writer or to express herself or just to be a young person in the world. Employability skills 2000, some of them are a little bit harder to say, like, okay, that's how it fits into the theme. My Fair Lady, you've got a young woman who is coming up in the world, and she's low class, but she wants to impress these rich men and pretend that she's a lady and she belongs in this like fancy world, right? So that's definitely setting out, right? So she's young, she's at the start of her life, she wants to impress people, and there's these older people who are trying to guide her and mold her and turn her into something. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That one's a little bit harder to pin down. Bliss at the Burger Barn. You've got young people trying to figure out their life. Hey, I need a job. It's about looking for a job. So you could take the metaphor of like setting out. So if your journey is to get a job, then, that one works there. The Flanagan Food Service one, it's kind of hard to see how that fits into the theme. Maybe you could work that one. I couldn't really think of a way. Rude Awakenings is a great piece about the Canadian comedian Tom Green and what he was like as a kid. It's really good. That one really fits. A good portfolio gives you the interview edge. And then the last ones just sort of like tie in with like what it means to get out there and find a job. So just for time's sake, I got to keep moving, and I might come back to this and talk about how we could plan this out. But okay, activity 2, page 140. So same idea, but now you're a salesperson. Choose a product or service that you represent and on which you have to give a presentation to a potential customer. Make notes on the product information, then create an audience profile of the customer. Write an outline of the presentation you would deliver. So again, you're doing the same format where you do the topic of your presentation, you do your notes, and then you actually write out your presentation, right? And so what I would suggest to you is, you choose a product that that you can talk about, and then think about your audience. So what do I know about the audience? What do I need to tell my audience about the topic? What do they know about this topic already? What will interest them about this topic? Okay, so what I would suggest to you for this assignment is, step 1 is, choose a service or product you know very well. Okay? And then number 2, think about a person or maybe an organization who needs it. Okay? So I would think about those 2 things. So think about a product or a service that you know very well, and use, right? So a product or service that you know a lot and you use it all the time. And then think about a person or an organization who needs it, right? And then step 3 is you come up with your sales pitch. And that's what your presentation is, right? Right? You're trying to convince the person to buy something, right? Or to use this service or product, right? So Now, up in the screen, I've got an image of Leonardo DiCaprio in the famous movie The Wolf of Wall Street. So in that movie, he plays a man called Jordan Belfort, and there's a famous scene where he's asking people he says, sell me this pen, you know, sell me this pen, and he's sort of like challenging his salespeople, and it's become this really famous interview question, right? So when people go for sales jobs, sometimes the person who's doing the interview will actually ask this job. So it's like they show you a random pen, and they say, sell me this pen, and they want to see how you answer the question. And in the article, he explains how a lot of people get this wrong. And we don't have much time, but I just want to read you what he said, right? So he says that it's sort of a trick question, because when you say to a salesman, sell me this pen, you might find some will say to you, oh, it's a great pen. This pen writes upside down. It defies gravity. This pen is the cheapest pen on earth. This pen will never run out. They say all the reasons the pen is good. They'll start telling you the features, and the better ones will give you the benefits too. But that's not what the real answer is. The real answer is, before I'm even going to sell a pen to anybody, I need to know about the person. I want to know what their needs are. What kind of pens do they use? Do they use a pen? How often do they use a pen? Do they like to use a pen formally to sign things? Or do they use it in their everyday life? The first idea is that when you say, sell me this pen, I want to hear the salesman ask me a question. So tell me, how long have you been in the market for a pen, right? So with that in mind, you don't have that luxury, so you can't ask your audience what they want, but you can imagine what they might want out of that product or that service, right? So it's about it really comes down to like not selling the product itself, but selling what the product or service can do for somebody, what problem it can solve in their life. I read a book about marketing a few years ago, and there was a great chapter about a hardware store. They weren't selling a drill, like they're not selling you a drill bit. In a way, they're selling you the problems you can solve with that drill bit, or they're not selling you a generator, they're selling you a way to keep your family warm when the power cuts out, right? So it's when you're selling someone on an idea, and you're selling somebody on a product or something they might consider buying, don't just focus on the product and the idea. You got to focus on the person who might buy it and try to picture who they are, what they might want out of that product, what problems do they have in their life that your product might help them with. So if we go back to this slide over here, so the audience profile, think about your audience, right, when you're delivering this presentation. What do you know about them? What do I need to tell them about the topic? What do they know about the topic already? And what will interest them about this topic, right? And I would argue that the most interesting thing is going to be how the product will help them specifically, right? Because there's a lot of things to consider when you invest money in something, or when you invest your time in something. And you are selling somebody on the benefits of the product, but you're getting away from what you're selling, and kind of shifting your focus on trying to convince the person that they need this in their life, and that's what they should do. And so like I think really good presenters and people who give really good speeches, they have thought about their audience and they think about what their audience is sitting down and what the audience expects, and they think about what the audience needs, and they try to think about that, right? So it's not just about convincing everybody that I'm right, and and I think when you deliver a presentation or a sales pitch, it can be easy just to get inside your own head and just forget that, it might be a one-way conversation. Like it's just you up there, it's just your presentation, but you have to make some kind of connection with your reader, with your audience, right? So keep that first and foremost in your mind when you do your presentations, right? It's not. Don't think of it as just some formal exercise, and the only audience is me, your teacher, who's grading it. I really want you to visualize yourself up there giving a speech. People are listening to you. They're paying attention. They want to hear more, right? So just keep that as like your framework for that assignment. All right, so we are on to the culminating activity from Unit 2, a career of interest. So it's a two-part assignment. Assignment 1, career survey, is worth 20 marks. Assignment 2, who would I like to be, is worth 40 marks. So it's split into two parts. The first job is a career survey. So step 1, you're going to visit the Government of Canada's online job bank and take 3 of their career planning quizzes. So those quizzes are found at jobbank.gc.ca/career-planning/quizzes. So you go to that website, you take the quizzes. Once you've written the quizzes, you are to write a paragraph with at least 5 sentences to describe a little about what you have found, right? So that you take the quizzes and then you write down some information about what you found. So let's take a look at that now, okay? So if we just open up a Google search and we type in job bank Canada, that's the first result that comes up, is the jobbank.gc.ca. So GC is of course short for Government of Canada, and .ca is short for Canada. American websites are usually .com, and Canadian websites are usually .ca. And different countries around the world have their own codes, right? All right, so the job bank is, of course, a huge online listing of jobs that you could apply for. Some of them are with the Government of Canada. Not all of them are. Some of them are from private companies and things like that. But what we're doing is we're doing the career planning. So if we go to career planning at the top, you'll see there's choose a career, school to work transition tool, career quizzes, skills checklist, job profiles. We want the career quizzes. So we're going to click on that. We're going to go to learn more. And this is the image you'll find in your textbook. So you have interests, abilities, and work activities. So we'll take the quiz. We'll try and do it as fast as we can. Okay, doing the same task for a long period of time. I'm not really interested in that. Building things and or repairing them, not really. Exploring a subject from different points of view, yes. Finishing one job before you start the next. Directing people in their activities, not really. Maintaining a steady pace throughout an activity, I'm in the middle. Doing trial runs and applying changes, that sounds cool. Being responsible for organizing activity and planning, no, I don't like that. Helping people solve their problems, yes. Being responsible for a project or activity and have to look after many details to complete it, nah. Maybe we'll just do this first one, and we'll see what it gives us. Learning about scientific topics by, I love doing that. Working with tools and machinery. I like that, but it's not really my thing. No. Solving your own problems. Yeah, definitely. Doing a project or other job carefully, one step at a time. Eh. Planning the tasks or activities of others. Not really. Taking charge of things and get them done. Yeah, for sure. Trying new ways of doing things. I like that. Spending your days working with machines or equipment. Not really. Not interested at all. Working in the field of community services. Yeah, that's I put that in the middle. Doing activities where you know what is expected of you. Yeah, I like that. Speaking with people and listening to them. Yeah, definitely. Calculating to solve a problem. Not really. Helping people improve their lives. That's extremely interested for me. Working with your hands, doing things such as plumbing, repairs, sewing, fixing cars. Not really. Discovering how things are made and worked through. Reading books. Oh yeah, I love that. Doing an activity where your work is closely checked regularly. Not interested at all. Assisting people when they are sick or in trouble. I'm neutral on that one. Working in a team. Again, I'm neutral. Working with materials. Not really. Thinking to invent or create. Yeah. Leading a committee. I'm in the middle on that one. Bringing comfort to others. Middle. Working by following well-established procedures. I like that. Having a job in which you are working with machines or things rather than people, not really. Being in control of a group, not really. I'm a medium on cooperating with others. Working on research projects, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. All right, one more here. Taking responsibility for decisions, yep. Getting people to do what you want, I'm neutral. Going through evidence to solve a problem, I like that. Looking after people, yeah, it's a 4 out of 5. Doing an activity where you are told what to do and how, not really. Discussing with people to know their opinions, yep. I like that one. Organizing your own tasks in your own way, yep. Working to discover new ideas or things, yep. 4 to 5. Working on one thing at a time, yeah, I'm neutral. Doing hobbies on your own, such as building models, oh, I like that one. 4 to 5. Okay. So. And then you sort of see your find out about your work preferences and see what types of job you might enjoy. Okay? So we have innovative people, social people, and directive people. And then you have all these jobs that you could get. So there we go, college and other vocational instructors. So I ranked pretty high. So there's teachers, right? Architects, agricultural representatives, image consultants, landscape architects, urban land use planner, art director. Let's see here. Radio, film, television, and video game producer. That's cool. Home economics, international aid, development, management consultant, social services planning, family, marriage, and other related counselors, educational counselors, university professor and lecturer. I'd love to do that. Secondary school teachers. Look at that, 96, right? So you see all these jobs that come up right after you've taken the interest quiz, right? So that's the but that's just one of the. So there's the interest quiz. There is the abilities quiz and the work activities quiz. So maybe we could take those ones tomorrow. But I have taken my. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here. I'm going to see if I can print this page as a PDF. And no, it's not giving me my stuff here. Oh, it's because I went back. Okay. Okay. So if I sign in, then I can create an account. And don't have an account. Sign up now. Oh, okay. So let's see. Standard account is. Okay, I'll have to investigate that, but keep that in mind because that's a useful lesson. I lost my results because I backed out of that page. So don't make my mistake. So maybe tomorrow we'll come back. You should write. You should take all three quizzes and then gather what you knew, right? So so for example, I've got quiz number 1. I found my current job, a secondary school teacher. Found a few jobs I would like to do, or maybe more I am excited about. And I found some new or, I don't know, unknown jobs. Or unfamiliar, that's the word I'm looking for. So maybe if you find the job on that list you've never even heard of, that's something you could consider writing about, right? So we have to write a paragraph with at least 5 sentences to describe a little about what you have found. Right? So if you can find 5 cool things or 5 interesting things, and then just write a sentence for each one, right? So basically, it's your top 5. You know, top 5 things you learned or discovered. Through the tests or through the quizzes. And then you do 1 sentence for each. And maybe 1 connecting sentence that, or maybe 1 sentence that expresses your, the main idea of what you found. If you can find a way to connect all those ideas. All right, so assignment 2 is who would I like to be? So research some information on your career of interest. Write a report on what you find, so 3/4 to a page. That's going to be a title page that includes a graphic, picture or sketch, your name, the course code, and the date, a draft or rough copy with 15 marks, and a final copy with 20 marks, worth 20 marks. So some other websites you can go to are careerprocanada.ca, careers.indigenous.link. There's Indeed.com, LinkedIn.com. You have Monster, Workopolis. So tons of job banks out there. So I guess what the hope is that you'll do the quizzes on the Government of Canada website, and then once you've done those quizzes, you will identify 1 career that you could potentially look into. And so, yeah, I don't think we won't have time to do another quiz, but what we can do is we can go back to our jobbank.ca. I'll actually show you one from where I live. So SiouxLookoutJobs.com is the Sue Hudson Employment Services. And if you scroll down to the left, it says current jobs. And then at the top, they have categories. So you have manufacturing and utilities, natural and applied sciences, information technology, trades and transportation, sales and service, manual labor, business and administration, management, social services, education, healthcare. So when you take the quizzes on the Government of Canada's website, a lot of what they're doing is they're trying to put you into or try to guide you into a category on something you may want to do later in life. One way that this has been explained to me, and it makes a lot of sense to me, is that some people, they work primarily with things, and a good example would be an automotive technician, someone who works on vehicles. They may be part of a team of people, but the majority of their day is spent working on physical objects and things. People who mold things and build things and repair things and assemble things, right? Working on an assembly line, right, for example. And then there's people who spend most of their time working with people, right? So human resources, teachers, nurses, right? And then there's people who spend most of their day talking about ideas, primarily, right? And then there's jobs that sort of like combine those two things, right? So ideas and people. So myself being a teacher, my my day-to-day life is mostly ideas and people, right? So other teachers, admin staff, a little bit, but mostly my people are my students, and my ideas are the ideas that I am teaching, that I am trying to communicate to my students. So, I think that those are the kind of jobs where I'm the happiest, where I get to work with ideas and not necessarily things, right? But everybody's different, right? So if we go to this website and let's go to social services, right? Because that's a job that I sometimes imagine I could work in. So we've got an integrated services worker, a case aid worker, harm reduction worker, youth outreach worker, student well-being worker. That's from right here, NNEC. Family program, employment counselor. So let's just say, for example, I want to look at an employment counselor working for this company right here, the Sue Hudson Employment Services, right? So they're looking for an employment counselor. That's a full-time position. And so when you work on your assignment and you find a career of interest, you will, let's just go back to the assignment guidelines here. You'll research some information on your career of interest, and then write a report on what you found, right? So we'll talk a little bit about this tomorrow, but your report can list things like, potential job postings you saw, what kind of qualifications you would need to get that job, how much the job would pay, right? This one would pay up to $26.50 per hour, depending on the education or experience. It's 35 hours a week. The preferred qualifications are someone who's got a degree or a diploma in employment counseling or a related field, or a level of knowledge normally acquired at the college or university level, right? So some jobs require a high school diploma. Some jobs are going to require post-secondary, college or university, right? So, but that's all the time we have for today. We'll pick up on this culminating activity tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.